Hello.
Yeah.
How is everybody?
Pretty good.
Good. I think we're still waiting on several folks here. There's Scott. There's Elodie. Hey Scott, how are you?
Doing well. Good afternoon, everybody. How is everyone?
Doing well. Councilmember Brown, his aide in his office informed me that he's not going to be able to join today. So just wanted to give you a heads up there. I'm going to send, Kevin said he doesn't have the Zoom, so I'm going to send that to him real quick.
Having a hard time hearing you, Quinn.
Can you hear me better now?
No, Kathleen, do you mind to say something?
Can you hear me?
No, I think it's my computer. I don't know what it is. I've never had that issue, but I've got the volume turned up all the way.
Huh.
Michael, if we get finished a little early, I want you to crank on one of those axes there behind you, okay?
Well, I'll tell you what, with the way the market's acting today, I kind of feel like it.
The blues?
No, it's actually all over the place. It would be like a Jimi Hendrix song today. I've been everywhere today.
Gotcha.
Can you hear us now?
It's really faint.
Can you go to the bottom of your computer and turn the volume up there?
I've got it turned up all the way.
Huh. When you got on, Scott, did it ask you to test your volume and audio? I've
got a speaker volume and I've got it all the way to I've got it maxed out, but I'm still having a hard time. So just bear with me if I can't hear people. I'm having issues with my audio, I guess. Good afternoon, Kevin and Taryn. How are you all?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good, Scott.
See, Elodie, who else are we missing here today? Councilmember Brown said he won't be able to make it.
Myron Worley wasn't going to be able to make it either.
Okay.
I don't know if Pat Madden had responded to you, Scott. Do you know if he's going to attend?
It's Michael. I talked to Pat. He will not make the call, so I'll be representing Pat today.
Okay, so I think we're good. This is good. We're ready to roll.
Perfect. Well, I'll go ahead and read the statement to be read. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic state of emergency and Governor Beshear's executive orders regarding social distancing, this meeting is being held via teleconference pursuant to Senate Bill 150 as signed by the Governor on March 30th, 2020, and Attorney General Opinion 20-05, and in accordance with KRS 61.826. because it is not feasible to offer a primary physical location for the meeting. So Scott, whenever you're ready, I know you're having some technical issues. Whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, well. I thought I would dial in using my phone as well. So I've got my phone and my computer, so it's got an echo, but bear with me here. Did everyone receive the list that Kathleen sent out?
Yep.
Earlier in the week? That I guess first off, I want to start with the plan for the retail opening that included the 3 questions. And what we did was we took everyone's comments into consideration and tried to consolidate the feedback that we received. And what you received from Kathleen is a consolidation with input from the group and from other retailers. And I guess want to go through it and just see if there's any comments or suggested changes, revisions. And if not, then, you know, we'll go from there.
Sounds great.
Any comments at all on that draft?
Scott, we just got off of the distillers and breweries call, and the way they did it was they kind of went line by line. Would you like to do that, maybe, to talk about each individual issue here?
I can do that.
And Scott, they just ran through it real quick, line by line. It wasn't
Yeah.
detailed.
Well, I think obviously the number 1 is pretty much what the 10 rules are. I don't know that there's anything to add on that. The second one, as far as reopening here, we've heard that we want to have a consistency between the retailers, whether that be considered essential or non-essential tenants. One of the bigger ones that I've heard, and I don't want to go, I guess, line by line necessarily, unless somebody has a particular question or wants to point it out. But one that I've heard multiple times is that the assistance from the local, state, and you've got local governments to have a good line of communication and marketing as we get to that point where we have reopening start to occur next week and moving forward. Some positive reinforcement for shoppers to get out and support these retailers, and any assistance in marketing that may be available would certainly be appreciated. The other one here is any financial assistance, incentivize businesses to rehire and invest. I know that the PPP money has been received, and hopefully all of those folks are if they've not received it in the first wave, they're getting it in the second round of funding. Any other tax breaks, sales tax, anything on the tax side that may be something that could be considered for these smaller businesses especially. And certainly let me know if you feel that we need to add anything else as I go through these. Is anybody hearing my echo?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a way to turn off the audio on your computer, but still be phoned in. I've had to do that myself. I don't know if you could figure it out on your end, but you can turn the audio off on your computer.
Scott, go ahead and say something. Let's try it out here.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, and we do not have an echo, so that's good.
Okay, good. I know that was hard to bear through. I'm sorry for the
Oh, no worries.
technical difficulty here. It was hard for me to think and talk about. But did anybody have anything that wanted to add to number 2, I guess, as far as any assistance from the state and local governments? Obviously, I've got communication and marketing, any financial incentives that they could provide. If not, I'll move on to number 3. Okay, moving on. Looking at the process, and I think this is a really important one as far as moving forward, the scaling back operations in the event that we are faced with a second wave. I know we all continue to hear that potential risk and liability of that happening. I think that obviously the top priority would be for obviously the health and well-being of everybody, and closely monitoring what goes on. What I've heard is rather than have to close down moving forward, perhaps there's changes to the schedules, changes to occupancy limits, changes to the hours of operation, and allowing those retailers to make modifications in the event that happens versus completely closing them down. I think obviously we've discovered, as Michael pointed out, curbside pickup is certainly here to stay, both for restaurant and retail. How that continues to remain in place is a big deal. Increased testing and sanitizing of all areas is obviously going to be critical. Those were the main ones that I've heard. Certainly be happy to add more if anybody else wants to add anything to that. And some of these things that I'm talking about, I think we followed it back up. I know that I believe in the last call, I believe Kevin, you and Fred had made a suggestion about making a checklist. And that's kind of what we've tried to do in this draft is make some suggested pre-opening checklist that hopefully people will be able to follow. And we've taken it from, either a variety of retailers or suggestions from the National Retail Federation, ICSC, which is International Council of Shopping Centers, and tried to do our best to not make it too long so that it's cumbersome to continue to look at and review, but also make it something that is inclusive of what really hopefully covers the main points as well. And we can lead into that, I guess, if there's not any other feedback on number 3. I'm certainly happy to look at this reopening checklist and see of any changes or modification that everyone feels necessary.
Oh, looks good to me.
Good. Okay. Elodie pointed out that a couple of these attachments weren't on this email, and we didn't want to make it too much and too many attachments so that it was cumbersome to get through. But Michael, thank you for helping me provide the reopening retail and suggestions there, that maybe some lessons learned from what's happening in the Texas area for the Texas shopping centers. Those certainly were interesting to see, even the big or small, how some of those folks have reopened, and it's just a real wide variety of what is being done and what's not being done. So I thought that was a really good indication and maybe some do's and don'ts to follow as we open up. Prior to this email that Kathleen sent out, I had sent out the ICSC reopening guide, and that can certainly continue to be followed as well. one we didn't send out, we'll follow this up after our call, is the Kentucky Retail Federation. That's actually already been submitted to the governor, and I think he's taken some of these considerations into account as people return to work as well. But just so you've got it, we can certainly follow back up with that and let you take a look at it. Then moving on to the checklist that I just mentioned, it's obviously starting with your store and the importance of cleaning it prior to reopening, and ventilation is obviously a big part of that. Ensuring that you've got the right equipment, and again, I think maybe we want to continue to focus on, is there resources for some of these retailers? That's one thing I continue to hear, is resources to find, these items such as the gloves, such as the mask, hand sanitizer. I know that a lot of them want to be able to get those supplies, and actually being able to find those in a timely manner has been a challenge. So if there's a single source that we can find and locate, I think it would be advantageous to share that with people, other than just going out on Amazon or wherever else to look for those. I think signage is a big part as people open up. I know even downtown at our office building, where we put a lot of signage, reminding people to keep their distance, and we've used that not only downtown in the office building, but also in the retail, trying to maintain a distance, trying to maintain so many people per elevator. If you've got elevators, some don't, some do. We're limiting. I know that's not in this checklist, but I'm just thinking of other items that may be worth bringing up, and we're limiting so many people on an elevator. And I think that goes along with the signage that we pointed out. I know I just spoke on number 4, and that's talking about arranging for the mask and gloves, both for maybe to hand out for your employees, but also the customers. I thought number 5 was a rather interesting one, and that's actually something that Walmart is using, is developed the 6-20-100 rule. It's first keeping a distance of 6 feet. 20 people should take at least 20 seconds to wash their hands. And if you have a temperature of 100 or more, be sure and stay home. Number 6 is decide how often you'll clean your store. And I've seen a wide variety of what I'm hearing from retailers. Some intend to clean, throughout the day, periodically, intend to clean so much. Every time a customer goes in and out of a changing room or dressing room. And I think that's all getting back to being consistent in what they do, and perhaps what everyone should be required to do. And it gets to the point of training your employees so that they not only know as far as what cleaning matters need to go on, but also how they should handle some of these subjects and deal with any gatherings or meetings of employees of 10 or more. I've heard that there's, as far as providing disinfecting gel and mask are available from some of the local breweries and distilleries. Kevin, I don't know if there's anybody particular that you've heard that may be providing that we could continue to get that word out, because I continue to hear from other folks that that's something, one item that we're still lacking of in certain areas.
Scott, there's several doing it, and maybe what we need to do is just put together a list of the ones who are actually doing it.
I think that would be helpful. And that may be going back to any other resources that we've got as far as the other items. And if I'm jumping ahead on these any too fast, just certainly feel free to let me know if you think there's anything you want me to speak to specifically. I've already kind of talked about number 9, that's getting your fitting room ready. Also, number 10, getting your restrooms ready. I have seen recently, I've been contacted by a variety of retailers, or not retailers, but I guess vendors wanting to sell us these light robots, and they actually can be sat in common areas or throughout other areas. And I think it's certainly interesting to know it's a UV light that the light will kill the virus. The biggest thing that I've seen on those is the price. They're very expensive to purchase, and I think will prohibit a lot of people from acquiring those. Number 11, implement social distancing protocols in your store. I think obviously it gets back to the staff and eliminating any seating or gathering areas. I know both in the store and outside of the store. I know even for Lexington Green, out in the common areas where we generally have a lot of seating available, waiting areas for people to gather. We have taken those up, and or at least eliminated seating, so there's fewer places to sit down, and encourage the use of any shields or cash register point of sales to eliminate the contact of folks. Number 12, the return of merchandise. I've heard a variety of what folks or retailers plan to do. I think there's a considerable amount of discrepancy in that, and I think probably the best plan is to consider suspending that for the time being, and maybe modifying the return policies at a later date. And then last, I guess, introduce the continued curbside pickup. Obviously, we know that that's certainly being promoted and continues to be a very popular way of purchasing items. As I think we've all known and done it ourselves, it's something that looks to be here to stay, and will continue to do so for some time.
Hey, Scott?
Yes.
I've just got a quick question.
Okay.
I think, Michael, you were the one that mentioned that curbside retail was going very well. And I didn't know if this had any application or logistically feasible, but didn't know if, of not just you, Michael, not just Hamburg, but everywhere. It seems like consumers have a little better feeling about things outdoors than indoors. I think, like going back to that sidewalk sale model that people used to expand their, retail footprint to outdoors. Is any of that going on around the country, or is it, again, we're going into the warmer months, so it's feasible, or is that just another headache that they don't want to look at? You seen anything on that? Anybody seen anything on that, or even considered that?
No, you're right. Simon Property Group, which owns a lot of the A malls in the country, had their report last night, and they did confirm what was alluded to. The outdoor centers are off to a stronger start than the closed malls. Mm-hmm. They didn't make the next leap to say merchants are bringing goods onto the sidewalks in an upscale way, but it's a great idea.
Yeah, there was another one that we set on, in food, Cincinnati and Cleveland blocking off streets. And I just think yeah. There could be some application to the retail model there, because again, there seems to be that level, and it's played out in what you've seen too. So anyway, just throwing that out there.
I actually had a question on restrooms, in the restroom section that we have in here. I know different stores have different, some stores don't have restrooms at all that are open to the public. Some do. It just kind of depends. But should we include something in this section that says if, for any variety of reasons, whether it be your staffing, your ability to keep up with it, or just your staff model, period, should we include something that says if you're unable to continuously clean your bathroom throughout the day, you maybe should consider closing your bathroom to the public during business hours?
I think that's certainly a decent suggestion. I don't know. I guess the question I would ask is, obviously for a lot of these folks to have an occupancy permit with the city, they're required to provide restrooms. And it may be a bigger question if we decide to close restrooms, what that does for occupancy. But I understand your point on the other hand as well.
Just something to consider, something that struck me, but that's a good point on the occupancy. Kevin, did you have anything to add here to the checklist? I think it's pretty encompassing, and we can certainly use it for the report to the government.
No, I think it's very well done. I think it covers the points. What do you think, Kid?
Yeah, I do. No, I think it's good. You all took the task and gave us a lot of good content. And, I only sit in on 4 of these, so I know Kevin and Quentin and others sit in on a ton of these. And it's really, as more you sit in on, you see some of the commonality of issues, and then there's some that are obviously germane to your category. But it's great to get perspective of people around, of different properties, different sizes, but really the same issue.
Right. We're all addressing a lot of the same concerns. There's no doubt, and we tried to take all the information we had seen and gathered from a variety of resources and put that all into one, and hopefully is a decent blueprint here, and making suggestions moving forward.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, Kevin, Quinn, unless you think there's something else that we need to cover, I just, Scott, thank you for chairing.
You're welcome.
Michael, Taryn, everybody else, appreciate people weighing in on this, because it does take some time, and you all not just taking the Zoom call, but you've gone above and beyond and provided other content. So much appreciated. And
certainly,
Quinn, if you might kind of give them the details on kind of what we, now that I think I'm phased out. You hate to say the word phase anymore, but kind of the next step in this for this blueprint creation.
Yeah. So basically what we'll do, and we'll work with Scott on this. We'll take the checklist and the draft summary that we went over today, and we'll build out something for this for retailers that'll be submitted to the governor, and the governor will hopefully use this as he builds out continues to illustrate and build out his plans for reopening statewide. So, but yeah, we'll work with Scott on that, but I think we pretty much have everything covered right here for us, and that's a huge credit to you all. We thank you very much.
You're welcome. So the plan will be to take this and then submit it, and the mayor would look at it and then submit it to the governor by the 18th. Is that still correct? I guess today's the 12th.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. And it'll be submitted as part of a larger report that'll cover various sectors that are represented here in the community.
Okay.
I should know this, but I forgot. How many different committees do we have, subcommittees?
We have 16.
16? Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, well, good. Well, I'm glad everybody thinks this is a good, draft to put into final stages. If there's anything else you need us to do, then certainly let us know. It's been a pleasure meeting folks via Zoom and getting to know them. And we're here if you need us to do anything else, Kip or Kevin or anybody else on the call.
Thank you. Keep the faith.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks for
Thank
getting.
you all so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. See you all.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you.